What's the worst birthday you've ever had?
Ooh, worst birthday I've ever had.
Good one, huh? Don't think I've asked this one before, but there's a reason why.
No, I can't remember the worst birthday, but I can remember when I was at my most spoiled in life.
Sure, okay.
I'm not afraid to share this. It's going to sound entitled and ungrateful. What's the other word I'm looking for? Asshole-ish.
Okay.
That's a word. It's in the dictionary, Webster's. Look it up. It's a variation of asshole, asshole-ish. So I can't really remember like a bad birthday. You know, I typically had good ones. I never really had like a bad one that's memorable, but I get called out on this all the time from my family, and rightfully so. But my family, and we were, you know, very fortunate. We don't have it anymore, but we used to have a timeshare in Hawaii, right?
Okay.
My dad had a good job, and he was he did a really he was good at, you know, keeping us humble, and you know, he didn't really like spoil us at all. Well, yeah, a little bit, but we did have a timeshare in Hawaii at one point in Kihei, which is a little town in Maui. I don't know if I recommend it anymore because it's packed over there now. We are that typical family from South Park that goes there on the rewards cards. We are we are natives of Hawaii from the months of August to September. And
living large.
In one time, and there was a point in my life where I just, to be honest, I did not enjoy going because we didn't do too many adventurous things, and I didn't appreciate the idea of relaxation and taking that into a vacation, because I always wanted to do stuff, especially when I was in like my teens, right? Like I always wanted to go, you know, a parasailing or hiking or something or other. And at the time, I associated going to Hawaii with doing nothing, which is what I didn't want to do. And one time my parents were like, "Hey, Steven, how would you feel about spending your birthday in Hawaii?" And I said, "Oh, do I have to?" That's the most entitled thing I've ever said in my life.
You know what, though?
That's not the worst. It's not the worst birthday memory, but it's definitely the one that I get called out on the most from both my brother and my mom. And if my dad was still around, rest in peace. If my dad was still around, he'd absolutely be making fun of me for it as well.
But you ended up doing it for your birthday, though, right?
Yes, we ended up going. And the sad part is now it's even worse is we did go to like this restaurant in Lahaina, which is unfortunately Lahaina, which is the city that burned down in Hawaii, which is the one that just looks completely different. Like it was it was really a shock, like seeing the images there. And we used to go to this one restaurant. It wasn't very good, but my dad was always a big fan of like restaurants that weren't very good. You know, like he loved taking my family to Fuddruckers when they'd make the vacation out to the United States.
Whoa,
you know what I mean?
I will not have you besmirch the name Fuddruckers. That's a great establishment.
I'm just saying we weren't exactly like this family that went out for high class meals. And so there was always this place called Cheeseburger in Paradise that we went to. And unfortunately it's no longer there. But Cheeseburger in Paradise was just it was great. It was a great little atmosphere. And one time there's this guitar player who was like, who was playing one year, and then the next we went over there and it's that same guy still playing the same old guitar songs at this Cheeseburger in Paradise restaurant. Anyway, long story short, that's the one. Yeah, you can't say long story short after you've said a long story. I went on.
Yeah, that was pretty long, but I can relate to what you're talking about with Hawaii because I don't know if I could disclose this, but I will. KMBR is going back to Hawaii. And they want me to go as now I'm a host on the air. But my plan, though, was to go see my mom the week after we go to Hawaii for Thanksgiving. So I was like, do I have to? I literally said the same words. And they were like, dude, it's a free trip to Hawaii. Just fucking take it. I'm like, I know, but the plan was to leave that Friday. And I was like, can you give me a flight to Houston right afterwards? They're like, no. And I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out on my own. I'm going to Hawaii. So I can relate a little bit, Steven. The reason I asked this question, about worst birthdays is because yesterday was Pete Carroll's 74th birthday. And Raiders laid a big fat egg.
Yeah, that's worse. I mean, happy 74th, Pete. Here's your team that's going to shit the bed.
Yeah. I mean, and Pete Carroll is the oldest coach in the NFL. I think he's the oldest coach in the history of the NFL. And I hope he has many more birthdays coaching the Raiders, but that's not a great memory yesterday. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We are coming to you on a Tuesday night to react to week 2 in the NFL. We'll talk about the 49ers going 2-0 on the season with Mac Jones at quarterback. But let's start off, and we'll talk about every game from week 2 in the NFL. But let's start off with the Raiders and last night's performance. As good as Geno Smith was in week 1, throwing for 362 yards, I believe, last night was a bad performance. He was 24 of 43 for 180 yards and 3 interceptions. Think of that stat line for a second. 24 of 43. When you throw 43 attempts, you should throw for over 200 yards, maybe even close to 300 yards. 3 interceptions. That's a bad performance. And I've seen all the gifs today. Our buddy Rick Tittle sent the meme to us of Derek Carr sitting on the sideline looking all pissed off. And we saw the same thing from Geno Smith last night. I'm not going to say that I'm out on Geno Smith at quarterback by any means because it's just the second week of the season. But we knew this with Geno. He's going to be either really good like we saw last week, and they only scored 20 points, but he was definitely throwing the ball, deep last week, throwing that deep ball to Trey Tucker and the deep 3rd and 20 to I keep forgetting his name, DeAndre Thornton, the wide receiver. Dante. God damn, I keep saying that. Anyway, Dante Thornton. But last night, it looked like Geno Smith was just throwing the ball into harm's way multiple times. He is turnover prone.
Yeah.
And I thought at some point he was going to get benched last year with the Seattle Seahawks. But, he stayed the course and he was starting quarterback for most of the season, if not all of it. And with Geno, I know that Pete loves him. I know that he has a relationship with Chip Kelly. But there's going to be days where we are amazed by his deep throws. And there's going to be days where it's like, damn, Geno, you threw 3 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. So he's a true double agent. Just your thoughts on Geno Smith's performance last night, Stephen.
One of those interceptions, I don't blame him. The one that was deep in the end zone towards the end of the half. And I thought Dan Orlovsky made a pretty solid point where he's just like, you had to throw it up there. Towards the end of the second half where it's like you throw it out of bounds. Okay. But then he did that on the next drive anyway and pulled a Derek Carr. Like it's the Spider-Man meme, right? You're just pointing at each other. It's end of the game. The Chargers are seemingly giving you a chance to get back into it. And
repeatedly.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe they just hate Pete Carroll and didn't want him to celebrate his birthday with a win. Maybe that's what's happening here. But no, the Geno thing, it felt like he was shook. There was no faith in his offensive line. He didn't trust them at all. There was the plan, whatever it was. How do you script the first 15 to 25 plays, whatever it is? I'm sure it fluctuates with different offensive coordinators around the league. But if you have drawn up a play where there's an interception thrown on the first play of the game, that is on coaching. That is on the quarterback. How does that happen? You script out a play, you do a walkthrough, you literally walk through the first 15 or 25, maybe in between that, and somehow you throw an interception on the first play. Like, it was just a disaster, man. And really, it was just a horrible effort, I thought, from everyone on the Raiders. And the one that got me was the 18-play drive. 18 plays, you shave 11 minutes off the clock, almost 12, and you only come away with a field goal. Like, it does start with the quarterback, but I just thought it was one of the worst Raider performances I've seen in a while, just all around. It didn't feel like anything was working until, Max Crosby did Max Crosby things at the end of the game and gave them a chance to win it, which is what superstars are supposed to do. And then they kept on. Here's the thing that got me too, Derek, was the looking at the kind of the advanced metrics and the stats or the targets, they targeted Derwin James 9 times. I'm not saying that it's all their fault where the Chargers are playing in man coverage and that Derwin is covering this receiver or the tight end and you're going to go after this receiver or tight end. And it's probably a product of the zone they were running. But dude, that was okay. Yeah. Sorry, Ernie, not a chance to win, a chance to get back into the game though, at least. Yeah. Yeah. But, to throw at him 9 times, he's one of the best safeties in the league. And actually, that's something it saved that, Derek, saved the Derwin James thing. I do have a tie into that with the 49ers, which we'll talk about later. But, yeah, Geno was just awful. It was awful.
Yeah, I hear you on scripting the first 15 plays, but I'm not going to fault Chip Kelly on that. I'm going to fault Geno Smith where the Chargers made a great play. Their cornerback drove on the ball, tipped it up in the air, and was it Denzel Perryman that came down with the interception?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or no, it wasn't. It was their other young
number
linebacker.
0. Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Number 0. But, yeah, dude, it just felt like that the entire night where Geno was just – he wasn't getting a lot of protection. There is an issue with the offensive line. There's an issue with the offensive line, especially with run blocking. But – he was just throwing the ball. Like there's multiple times where he got out of a sack and just threw the ball up in the air, and that could have been interception, but he's trying to make a play. But there was so many times where he just threw the ball in harm's way. And I hear you on the play before the second half. That's an interception. I mean, it's basically just like a punt. But the one that, killed you in the end, that was tipped up in the air by Derwin James and, came down by Dante Jackson, that was game over. And yes, I think the defense gave you multiple chances to get back in that game. The Chargers gave you multiple chances to come back in that game. It was only 20-9. Like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's one of the worst performances you've seen by the Raiders in quite some time, but I saw worse last season. I'm
just being hyperbolic.
I know.
I'm emotional.
And I've seen worse Monday night performances than you and I have been talking about for the last few weeks, but the defense gave you a chance. I thought the defense played particularly well. The Chargers' run game, there's nothing to speak of it right now. Omarion Hampton hasn't done much. Najee Harris has done little to nothing. Their leading rusher last night was Justin Herbert. But I commend Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers just changing their philosophy to pretty much make this a Justin Herbert team where he drops back and throws. It's his team. Like, when they were trying to make it easy for him a year ago and establish the running game, they're a pass-first team now from the first 2 weeks of the season. Those 2 touchdown passes he threw, one to Keenan Allen, who always kills the Raiders.
Yeah.
I don't think we could say a lot of shit about Quentin Johnson anymore, man. He's got 3 touchdowns the first 2 weeks of the season. That was a beautiful pass he threw for that touchdown.
Gosh, that was a dime by Herbert.
And the Chargers are just sound defensively, man. Jesse Minter has got those guys humming. I felt bad for Khalil Mack, even though he terrorizes the Raiders. I don't know if we'll see him again with that elbow injury, whatever happened. I do love that interview, though, by Jim Harbaugh in the second half when the reporter came up to him and said, so how do you guys carry on without Khalil Mack? We'll carry on. We'll carry on. Next guy up. And, Khalil's a great player. But, just got to keep fighting to live, And she's like, okay, Jim.
Nice.
Yeah. Geno,
well done.
Thank you. As good as the offense looked in week 1, and I'm saying that just because of the passing offense, they didn't have much of a running game. Geno also threw a bad interception that game. You can overlook that because they won the game. But offensively, I mean, this team needs to establish a running game to be effective. Like their wide receivers are good, but not great. That's why I wanted them to go get Amari Cooper. And, unfortunately, he decided to retire before the season started. You can
say they did.
I know. And they did, and it didn't pan out. And I haven't seen much from Jack Besh. Trey Tucker's their big play guy. Jacoby Myers is their chain mover. Dante Thornton could also be a big play guy. But their main weapons are probably going to be their tight ends of Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. But this team eventually needs to get to the point where they run through Ashton Genty. And he's just not there yet. He's seeing the holes, but the offensive line's not really blocking properly for him. So that's going to be a work in progress. I'm not totally down on the team, but I was just disappointed with the performance last night. As good as the defense played, with the exception of just 2 plays by Justin Herbert for touchdown passes, I thought the defense played pretty sound. And, questionable decisions by Jim Harbaugh where they decided to kick a field goal when they're on the 2-yard line, but then they decided to go for it on their own 25 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Maybe they were further along, but I didn't understand that play. Like they ran an end around on 4th and 1 that was stupid. That could have got the Raiders back in the game if they scored a goddamn touchdown. Omarion Hampton fumbles, so they had multiple chances to get back in the game. But man, I just Geno Smith. It's going to be the yin and the yang, man. It's going to be where he looks impressive, and then you're like, damn it, Geno, what the hell was that?
Well, the thing is, you can't have him throwing over 40 times per game. Like right now, if you mix between the two, I think he's thrown like. I even forgot how many he threw in the first one already, but 43 is too many. And you mentioned it, the Ashton Genty thing. There's no way that you're going to tell me that the Raiders had a plan that they were going to use their pass game to set up the run. No, it was all about the run. It was about establishing this physicality, this identity, whatever Pete Carroll wanted to call it, along with Chip Kelly. And that's why they drafted Ashton Genty so high. But their plan was to run the football. And if they're not able to do that effectively, then I do wonder about this team moving forward. And it's just what's the point here? Like, I think it throws a total wrench into whatever their plans were in the preseason because of the way that they were talking Genty up, who, by the way, needs to work on his pass protection because, good Lord, some of it is brutal. Some of the reps that he takes. It's just like there was one play where he just completely gave up. And it felt like he gave up on last night's game because the Chargers just overmatched him. I'm not saying he did that running the football. Like I'm talking about in pass protection. Running the football, I mean, he's amazing. Like you see the talent, you see the balance, you see the jump cuts, you see the catching ability, you see everything that he could do. But there's no offensive linemen that are able to hold a block. And I'd have to go back and look, but I wonder how the wide receivers are blocking too. Because the staple of a good run game, and you saw it with the Lions as they absolutely demolished the Bears, but you see the wide receivers and their ability to block. Amon-Ra St. Brown blocking downfield for Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know if you've really seen that with the Raiders so far. And there's also just some questionable decisions by Chip Kelly too. Like if you're trying to establish this run, don't use a 2-headed monster. Like Zamir White is not a great running back. He's just not very fast. Great in pass protection, but they want to fool the defense, it seems like, and say, all right, we'll bring it about here, and we're in shotgun. There's no way they're giving the ball to Zamir. This is going to be a pass play. I know that they want to disguise it a little bit and maybe use him as something of a decoy, a weird decoy, and that, hey, we're going to run it with this guy, even though he's usually in there for pass protection. But I forgot which drive it was. I think it was coming out of the second half where it looked like they were building a little bit of a rhythm, a little bit of momentum with Genty. Then they just took him out. And you see number 3 on the field. And I know you want to give the guy rest, and I'm not going to act like I'm there coaching the sidelines. Maybe it's Genty who needed to come out. I don't know. But it felt like they just the same complaints that the 49er fans are having about Christian McCaffrey at times during his 2023 season. Like, why are you taking him out? Yeah, it's the similar complaints I have to this one. Like, if you were going to center this offense around the run game, specifically your rookie first round pick, who's meant to be some generational talent, then why are you not doing that? They haven't early in the season, and maybe they'll fix their mistakes. I don't know, but it is frustrating.
I mean, I get that, man, but he hasn't shown yet that he is that generational running back. Right. So I understand why they're spelling him with Zamir White. It's just to get a change of pace in the running game, something different. Like, even Adrian Peterson needed Chester Taylor to come in for him his rookie season. At the same time, right away, Adrian Peterson was establishing himself as one of the next great running backs in this league, and Ashton Genty has yet to do that so far in these first 2 games. It's not all his fault. I think the offensive line needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think Geno Smith was uncomfortable last night. But
unfortunately, they're proving a lot of people right now, which was when they drafted Genty. And I think you had this concern. I think a lot of people had this concern. What's the offensive line? And Jackson Powers-Johnson was hurt. I know that. But so far, even with him in that starting O-line, I haven't seen much. And compared to, say, that last game against the Patriots, where I think they blitzed more than anybody in week 1. It was the opposite with the Chargers. The Chargers don't really blitz too much. They just rush with 4 or 3 even. And they just kill you with these disguises that they use with their defensive backs. I do want to give the Chargers defense credit. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely,
I think that's a really, really good team that, depending on what the Chiefs look like, if they bounce back from this 0-2 thing, like you'd have to say the Chargers are the favorite to win the division right now, just based on these 2 games. But obviously there's a ton more to go, so you don't want to be too forward with it. You never know. But yeah, man, they didn't blitz at all. They just stifled them, and Smith really did look shaken up, just kind of a deer in headlights. You know, the offensive line really wasn't giving him a lot of protection, but he did have time to throw, and felt like he was just trying to do too much. But I don't know where his head was at in that time.
Yeah, it's a new offense for him as well. But yeah, I still have faith in this team. Like I said, I don't know if they're making the postseason. Probably not from what I've seen so far. They have a lot to work on. But I do trust in Pete Carroll. I do trust in this team. Let's see what happens. They are potentially going to play a Commanders team without Jaden Daniels this weekend. So let's see what happens with that.
And then the Bears when Tom Brady cheats.
What's that? The Bears?
And then the Bears with a cheating Tom Brady.
The cheating Tom Brady? What are you talking about?
He's going to be in the production meetings for this week's game when he's calling the Cowboys and Bears, and he'll gather that intel from Ben Johnson. Then he'll relay that to the Raiders.
Yeah. We'll definitely get into that. But just to give credit to the Chargers, they look really good. Yeah. To beat the Chiefs at like they did 2 weeks ago, and then last night they're pretty sound defensively, even without Khalil Mack. They got pretty good pass rushers. Their secondary's sticking to wide receivers. Yeah, like I said, man, Jesse Minter has that team humming right now, and I am kind of surprised with the way they're playing offensively. I think that Harbaugh, when you have a quarterback that good, like Alon brings it up all the time when he's on with us, like, what is this offense when you have Justin Herbert? Like, you're just running the football all the time. You need a running game in this league, but do like the Buffalo Bills where, you run the football, but you got to let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. That's what they're doing this year. I commend Greg Roman for letting Justin Herbert play like a great quarterback. And so far, he looks impressive. So, yeah, I'm with you, Steven. We have to see what happens with the Chiefs at 0-2, the Broncos at 1-1, Raiders at 1-1. But you have to say right now the most impressive team by far in the AFC West, and maybe one of the best teams in the AFC overall right now is the Chargers. So, we'll see how
they were on Stephen A's top 5 A list today. So that's something.
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal with Stephen A driving that show now without Molly Kiram.
Huge deal.
By the way, what's the deal there? Like, she, contract expires at the end of the year, but she is gone. She is gone and not coming back. And Stephen A on his podcast said, I know why she's not coming back, but I'm not disclosing that information to you. That's what's going on here.
It's weird.
Should we ask Fortenbaugh?
To bring Fortenbaugh on to talk about the drama?
What's the deal with Molly Fortenbaugh? And he's like, I'm not telling you guys shit.
Yeah. And then we won't bring up the mustache, even though it's going to be impossible not to.
The mustache looks pretty good.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I think he rocks it well. And if the wife likes it, then who cares?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, let's move over to the 49ers. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, I do want to bring up the Tom Brady stuff. People were making a big deal about him in the booth last night. I do think it's weird that he is the minority owner of this team, but he's able to do so much with the franchise, and yet he's able to go into not other people's facilities, but he's able to gain access to the teams. I don't think he is during the week because I wouldn't allow that if I was an owner of a team. But he gets a lot of information, a lot of intel. He talks to the coaches, I'm sure, in pregame stuff, and then he goes back and tells the Raiders. So I understand why people are freaking out a little bit about that.
Yeah, but I think the teams are going to take it into their own. They're going to use their own discretion as to what they actually want to disclose to him. And I don't think he's going to get as much information as everyone thinks. I understand the criticism towards it. I understand the deference. I understand all of that. But I just think the team's not going to reveal as much. And really, I think as much as more than this will help the Raiders, I just think this is going to hurt the broadcast crew.
Yeah, I think
Really,
that.
like, I
Yeah.
mean, at least hit him, because I mean, you saw him in his first season. He didn't really know what else to do except to bring it back to his career and what he would do in this situation, not what he learned about that team and why they're, you know, running the play that they're running, or maybe the defense is showing the front that they want to do just because, you know, this is how the defensive coordinator thinks. Like, he didn't get any of that last year. And I think it's going to be a lot of the same this year. So that's really where I'm at. I did like Pete Carroll's response because he said, no. In referencing the report from Peter Schrager, who said he talks to Chip Kelly 3 times a week. Then Pete Carroll goes on to say, no, that's not true. That's not true. Me and Tom and Chip and Tom talk regularly. Okay, so you talk to him a lot.
Well, that is true then, Pete.
So it's true. It's really not like a bombshell report that he said. Whoa, the minority owner who just happens to be the greatest quarterback of all time speaks to the team's offensive coordinator. I thought it was a cool little tidbit from Peter Schrager that no one's really bothered to ask so far, because the Raiders didn't have that many primetime games last year. But I didn't think it was anything where you think, whoa, all right, we got to deflect, dispel, get rid of that rumor. It's an owner talking to the offensive coordinator, but then you take into the broadcasting into account. I guess I can understand it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if Tom Brady is ever on a Fox, or sorry, if Tom Brady's ever on a Raiders game for Fox, that's going to look weird. Like, I think in a couple of weeks, the Raiders play the Bears. I wonder if it is after this, where this weekend the Bears are playing the Cowboys and the Raiders are playing the Bears. I do wonder if Tom Brady's on that broadcast. Probably not, but yeah, the perception is not great. And, you know, Steven, we talked about the whole thing with Pablo Torre revealing, you know, under the table stuff with Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard. I think this is also NFL owners just kind of being like, yeah, we don't like this, but Tom Brady is part of the league still, and Mark Davis gets his way. There's something shady about this whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I won't be surprised if Torre digs into that, because right now he is getting into something totally different. Are you seeing his latest little report?
He's snitching too much, like Channing Frye said.
No, this has to do with the Chinese government.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
hey, Pablo, that's all you, man.
So we're going to get to the 49ers. You know how Mac Jones talked about how he worked with like a performance coach to work on like his breathing and his
I did hear about this. Yeah.
Heart and his all that sort of stuff.
That came at a weird time during the broadcast, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I was watching the game with my little brother. They're driving, and the woman that was on the sideline for that broadcast brought that up, and I was like, no, I don't want to hear that right now. Stop.
Well, Pablo Torre found out that a bunch of athletes are getting their mind right using this specific thing that tracks like their brain. It's some really high-tech stuff, but apparently that company is sending information to the Chinese government, which is using that info to power some AI generated military. And I wonder if they're using Mac Jones' brain for that, because whichever AI military member that the Chinese government is using for that one, they are set to get the nicest AI military member ever. Because my God, this Mac Jones guy is so nice. Such a friendly individual.
McCorkle, very nice individual. That's actual journalism, Steven. Like, I don't care about Kawhi Leonard getting under the table stuff. I think everybody does shady shit. The Chinese government tapping into our brains? Yeah, that's something right there.
Well, the reason everyone does shady shit is because no one's bothered to do any journalism about it. So I think Torre is kind of trying to stop it. But anyway, one thing I did want to tie in from the Raiders to the 49ers.
Okay. Derwin James?
Yes. So I'm simply asking. I'm not saying I'm not going to be like Dave Portnoy, where I'm out here going on, Fox and saying that I could be better than any offensive coordinator. I could be a coach and I can call play. Yeah. I'm not doing that. But I am wondering, why is it that in these big moments, especially when it's a passing situation, why do they always go to that team's best player on defense? Why is the ball always in that direction? Because the end of the game, it was iced by Derwin James. Now, for the 49ers, it was iced by Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa, just the defensive line clobbering Spencer Rattler. But the play before, they're testing Fred Warner. And it boggles my mind how these genius offensive coordinators on the last play that they have, this do or die situation, and they decide to try the defense's best player by far. Saw it with Derwin James, saw it with Fred Warner. I thought a lot of that game with the Niners was just they're all pros making plays like all pros usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought in my head, why are these in this situation where they can make plays? Why are you trying to test Fred Warner right now? Why are you trying to test Derwin James right now? Am I thinking, too simplistic with that? Or is there a point to that? I wonder, is there like a certain look? Maybe it's on the defensive coordinator and you just got to credit them for maybe, showing them a certain coverage and they think that it's going to be someone else, but instead it's actually Fred Warner or Derwin James who covers the targeted receiver. I don't know which one it is.
I think it's more that those offensive play callers are just trying in that moment to score, or like in this scenario with the 49ers, like just pick up the first down if you're the Saints. I hear what you're saying, but I think also those players are so great defensively that they see the play coming and they're just instinctual where they're just able to stop it. So I don't think they're testing Derwin James or testing Fred Warner. Those players are so great that they could sniff out that play from the get-go. And by the way, just going back to the Raiders real quick, that interception that Derwin James caused, the play before that, man, and Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick were all over it. Fucking Geno Smith had Brock Bowers wide open, and you just got to hit him on the numbers, and it was way too high. So those equal parts, the offensive line not playing well, but also Geno being highly inaccurate.
Yeah, there was that.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the 49ers. Your thoughts on the win, Steven, by the 49ers, 26-21, as I once again do the hot sauce because Steven just smoked me in these picks. I got a lot of stuff wrong last week. But 49ers win 26-21. They're 2-0. Your thoughts, Steven? And by the way, because everyone comments that these hot sauce challenges are too easy for me, and there's a new hot sauce in the Hot Ones universe, I guess, that I may have to purchase because this one's a little too tame for me now. By the way, did you see Kiki Palmer on the new episode? Smooching Sean Evans?
I saw the highlight of it, yeah.
That's something right there.
It is. How about
for tonight, because everyone calls me out for not being truly tested, I'm going to take 3 pita chips and put hot sauce on each one of them, and that will be my punishment.
Good Lord. Well,
let's do it, baby.
Let's just start off with the guy who seems like the nicest quarterback in the league.
What's up, AP? Hey, man. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you, too. Yeah, I know. From L.A., Lower Alabama. Good to see you, man.
He is like the only guy I've witnessed who seems legitimately happy to speak to the media. Maybe it's because it's after a win, but I understand what Nick Bosa is saying with Mac Jones and the fun energy. Look, I came away impressed, but I do think, I don't know, I don't mean to rain on the parade here. It is the Saints. And I'm hearing a lot of, well, don't tell me the opposition. Don't tell me the opposition. Like, you got to beat who's on the schedule. Like, yeah, but it is the Saints. All right. I do think that can be taken into account when you're talking about analyzing the game. But with that being said, it's like I mentioned at the top, the all pros made plays, dude. Like, I thought the most impressive thing to me was not necessarily Mac Jones, who obviously came in and threw for 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The first quarterback to do that since Nick Mullins, and the third quarterback in franchise history to do so. He looked confident. He was making some fairly difficult throws with a lot of conviction. He had that one play where he scrambled where I was immediately eating my words about the lack of mobility compared to Brock Purdy, because I thought, ooh, look at that. The throw to Juwan Jennings, the 42-yarder, the way that he talked about it afterwards, where he just looked off the linebacker, the safety, and got him going one way and then had Juwan wide open going for another. That's just a great play by the quarterback and a great play design by Kyle Shanahan. Thought he ran that well. But the thing to me that I came away with is, Nick Bosa just eating Kelvin Banks Jr.'s lunch. Oh my God. I felt for that rookie tackle, man. When you're going back and looking at it, it didn't seem like Nick Bosa made an impact play until the very end of the game, but really he had 8 pressures, and there was a couple of them where he was so close to getting to Spencer Rattler. But I thought the most impressive player of the game was Nick Bosa. I just thought he was a monster all night long. And if you just look at the pressures alone, you'd think that nice. Go ahead. Eat it.
No. Go for it.
Yeah, if you look at the pressures alone, like you'd think that they were, all over Rattler and he wasn't going to get anything going. I do have to credit Rattler for the way that he played. I thought he was all right, and his team didn't do anything to help him in the first half. And had, they caught a couple of passes, things might have been went a little different there. And who knows what the outcome of the game would have been. It wasn't pretty, but the 49ers managed to come away with a win, and they're 2-0 to start. Like, how can you be disappointed in that?
To your point about the Saints, I hear you. They're a little more talented than I thought. And I know, but it's probably the better performance of Spencer Rattler's career, throwing 3 touchdown passes. They still got Alvin Kamara. Rashid Shaheed's a pretty good wide receiver as far as like a deep threat. Chris Olave's a solid receiver. Yeah. They got some players on defense, but man. As far as like other teams in the league, the Browns, maybe even the Dolphins right now.
Yeah, I don't
think they're the worst team in football, as my eyes are watering. But I think we're going to say a lot this season that the 49ers, who'd they play? It's just part of their schedule. They're not going to be truly tested until they play these NFC West teams that's happening this week against the Arizona Cardinals. And then they'll play the Rams in a couple weeks too. But you have to give kudos to Mac Jones for his performance. And I don't know how many times Kyle Shanahan's had a backup quarterback throw for close to 40 pass attempts, but he felt comfortable with Mac Jones playing in this game. I do believe this offense is always going to be successful as long as Christian McCaffrey's on the field. And I know that the rushing numbers are not the same like in years past, but as long as he's the Swiss Army knife, he's the true satellite running back for this team where he's doing equal parts through the air, on the ground. The play design of that touchdown was incredible, where he is lined up as a wide receiver, but cuts in between the routes of Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. Beautiful scheme.
Yeah, that was interesting because
please go ahead.
Because there was the timeout that they called, and it was the Saints who called the timeout before that play, right? I'd have to look back at it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Let me see.
All right, while I do that, I'll keep talking as I eat chip number 2.
Hang on. I'm going to get to it.
All right, fine.
I'm doing this in real time. This isn't radio. We got time.
Yeah, okay.
All the time in the world. Mac Jones. No, that's not the one that I'm looking for. God damn it. Hang on. Not that one. It was a timeout by New Orleans. Right. So I thought that Brandon Staley maybe saw them line up in a certain formation that he just didn't like for the Saints. Right. He said, this doesn't look good. Or maybe he was just calling a timeout to give his guys a breather. But it looked like the 49ers were going to run the exact same play that they were going to run before the timeout. And for whatever reason, they did not have a guy. They did not have numbers on the 49ers on the outside. Like the 49ers had numbers on them. They took away a player from coverage by the looks of it, which just didn't make any sense to me. So I'm with you. It was a beautiful play design where they got him open. Oof. Like you do have to credit Ricky Pearsall for selling it. And it felt like with the way that he was just vacuuming footballs, like, God, he just looks like such a reliable receiver right now. It really was a nice play design. And Christian McCaffrey, for all the numbers, you can't look back at those numbers and think to yourself that he doesn't look healthy. Like the numbers aren't that great, but the actual running, the way that he's powering through guys, it just feels like he's one step away from getting to the next level and breaking one off for a big run. Just hasn't happened yet. And they've managed to get 2 wins, even though he hasn't. So it's going to happen. I just don't know when.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's clear that Kyle Shanahan feels comfortable with Mac Jones being his backup quarterback. And if you have to fill in again this week, I think that the offense won't skip a beat. I think that Juwan Jennings came up big too. Kendrick Bourne just signing, last Monday and coming up big for them. So the one thing right away, I was like, ooh, Eddie Pinheiro, that's a terrible PAT miss. But then he settled in fine. I was messing with people on Twitter about, actually messing with Lauren F. about how, I miss Jake Moody, but obviously Eddie Pinheiro is an upgrade. As far as the defense, there's young players on this team, and some did make mistakes. There was bad penalties by Nick Martin and Upton Stout and Marquise Siegel, but those guys so far have played pretty well. I mean, it's really, as you said, Stephen, the leadership of Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, those guys really stepping up. Diamador Lenore as well, but it's the veterans, pretty much, setting the tone for everybody else defensively. And I mean, Nick Bosa again with a clutch sack, Bryce Huff coming in and forcing that fumble on 4th down. So as much of a mystery as the defense was going to be coming into the season, I think that the defense has played pretty damn well. And as much as Kyle Shanahan puts quarterbacks in pretty good situations, I would say Robert Saleh is putting his young players, defensive players, in good positions to succeed.
You're talking about D. Winters, not Nick Martin, right?
Sorry, yes, D. Winters, yes.
Yeah, dude, that guy, he just it looks like Dre Greenlaw. Got to see a little more in terms of coverage, but he just looks like Dre Greenlaw with the way that he's able to fly around and make tackles with ease. Again, who would have thought that John Lynch would be great at evaluating guys in that position, guys who know how to hit. There's a few penalties that they can clean up, but Michael Williams easily had his best game as a Niner right now. He did not look like a rookie. He looked like a vet just with the moves that he was putting on. Alfred Collins, it's still a work in progress, but Alfred Collins is still able to make a couple of plays here and there. Yeah, the defense looked solid. I guess the only soft spot on there is Renardo Green. I think he's been targeted more than any cornerback because, Diamador Lenore's on the other side and you don't really want to throw to him if you got Renardo Green there. So that's the only downside. But other than that, I mean, they've just been, to put it in the words of the last name of the rookie, they've been stout, man. And then again, you had Nick Bosa making that play. Bryce Huff playing in this wide 9 technique right now, where those two guys are just lined up like 3 or 4 yards outside of the tackles, and they're just able to bend and get around them. I think the other guy on the other side of the line, I can't remember his first name, but I think it's Fuaga is his last name. Yeah, he was a first round pick.
Brian Fuaga, yeah.
It's like Talois or something, but dude, he did not look like a first round pick. He was a first round pick in 2024, and he was getting absolutely crushed by Bryce Huff. So 2 straight games in which the defensive lines closed it out. How can you not be stoked about that? I do think it's going to be a bigger test against the Cardinals. I'm very interested to see actually how this works. I think we're going to do more of it on Saturday, but the Cardinals were just eating the Panthers for lunch, at least the offensive line. I know the final score didn't look like it, but they were just getting after Bryce Young. I think they led every single team in pressures in week 2. And with Josh Sweat, the different fronts that they run around there, it's actually kind of wild watching the Cardinals work. Their defensive line gets contributions from everybody. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game in the trenches come Sunday. But yeah, man, overall, the defense just looks like the 49ers defense that we're used to seeing. Violent, physical, don't miss many tackles. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, violent and physical is going to be me in the bathroom tomorrow. As far as, I mean, I think this is one of the better performances from a backup quarterback for Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
I mean, last year when Brandon Allen filled in, it was like you already lost. Kind of the same deal, like Josh Dobbs in a, basically a preseason game against the Arizona Cardinals the last week of the season. So I think it's a perfect situation where if your backup quarterback fills in, you don't have to change the offense. I never understand when some teams, their backup quarterback is so different than their starting quarterback that they have to change the entire offense. It may catch the defense off guard, but it also catches the rest of the offense off guard as well. So I'm glad that Kyle, with how much he was enamored with Mac Jones during the draft process of 2021, to have him be his backup quarterback now, when he found Brock Purdy, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, I mean, it's fine. He did not throw it into harm's way too much. There are a couple of throws where it made you go, eesh. But for the most part, I mean, he was solid. I don't really, there's not really much to look. I'm not going to go so far as to say he is the next Sam Darnold, where he's going to get like some 1-year contract with another team next year that's in need of a quarterback. I'm not going to go so far as to say that, because I do think that him being the first since Nick Mullins to throw for over 250 with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Let's look at Nick Mullins, because I remember when Nick Mullins, after he had that game against the Raiders, how everyone was talking about Nick Mullins being like the future for this 49ers team. And then he just looked like cabbage the rest of the way.
Cabbage.
And look, this Saints defensive line, they didn't do anything against the 49ers. Like, they were just non-existent, really. So it felt like Mac could kind of do whatever he wanted. Still have to wait to see what happens if, there's a little more pressure, and he's got to escape the pocket and whether he can make throws in that circumstance. But for the most part, like, it's what we got to go off of, and he looked really, really good.
And I think he'll be truly tested against the Arizona Cardinals, because I think they definitely improved their defense.
Josh Sweat is killing it right now.
Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell ending that game for the Panthers last week.
Yeah.
Or ending that game for the Cardinals against the Panthers. But if you listen to Dirty Work, we have a caller named Dwayne at Stockton who calls in, who hates Brock Purdy. Just absolutely crushes the guy.
Yeah.
And it's a little too much for me. I think his calls are hilarious, but also ridiculous. And they're going back to Brock Purdy as soon as he's healthy. Like, this isn't a thing where Mac Jones could steal his job. We're not doing East Coast sports talk radio here where, could Mac Jones be the new starting quarterback? That is not happening. Like, I understand that happens sometimes in football through the years, where the guy that got the big contract, Drew Bledsoe, lost his job to Tom Brady. I don't see that happening here. I think that we could just have a good backup quarterback situation where back in the day, Elvis Gerback had to fill in for a couple of games for Steve Young. It was great. He never was going to take Steve Young's job. He ended up going to be a great not a great quarterback, but the next starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I just feel like we make too much a big deal about that. I think that Kyle Shanahan had to find his quarterback. Just changing it over and over and over again is not going to result in a Super Bowl. So for anybody out there thinking that Mac Jones is going to take Brock Purdy's job, that's not happening. You're sadly mistaken. I think that's a dumb talking point to begin with.
No, but I do think – I don't think this has anything to do with really Brock Purdy, but whenever there's a backup quarterback that goes in, you feel like you're done. Like, as soon as Joe Burrow went out and Jake Browning went in, you immediately think, okay, well, Bengals are losing this one. There's no chance that they're going to win anymore with Jake Browning. We're dead. We're just a dead team walking right now, a dead team playing on the field. We might as well be that football team from Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
Might as well, you're just that team. But with Mac Jones as the backup, I don't think this has any bearing on Brock Purdy's future. I just think if you're a 49er fan, you at least have a little bit of hope if Brock Purdy goes down and Mac Jones comes in. And I think he proved that in week 2. And I don't think there's really much more you can ask out of a backup quarterback, is just to give you a little hope that you're going to win moving forward if you have to try to weather the storm without him for a couple of games, at least for right now.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like right now. I mean, who knows against the Cardinals, and it's not to say like, hey, we got to play the Packers in the playoffs and Brock Purdy's hurt and we got to go in with Mac Jones. Like, I'm not saying their chances are much better without Purdy in there, but there's still a chance. And usually when there's a backup quarterback that goes in for the starter, there's usually no chance. Yeah. And I think that's all you can ask for, really.
I think that Mac Jones as your backup quarterback for the 49ers is a better situation than what is going on currently with the Bengals or the Vikings or even the Commanders that happens this weekend. So moving on to just quick hits to go around the league of the NFL.
Can we just play something from? I know we're gonna probably get to this last. Actually, you know what? Mac Jones, the entrance. Let me just play it one more time. Let me play it one more time. One more time.
Go for it.
Up, AP? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you too. Yeah, I know. From LA, Lower Alabama.
All right, I got one more that's going to rival that, and we're probably going to talk about it later. But remind me of that.
What a nice genuine laugh from Mac Jones there.
Listen, man, this guy's a nice guy. That's
yeah,
it.
he is.
You know, I might do it on. I was thinking about doing it on Saturday, and I might. I'm going to go with the top 5 nicest quarterback rooms in the league.
Okay, I like that.
Because I think 49ers might be leaders in the clubhouse here.
I would say that probably would be my leader in the clubhouse as well, but I have to think about it as well. Okay, you brought up Joe Burrow, and I was watching that game with my little brother because there was a lot of fantasy implications for both of us where Joe Burrow was my starting quarterback in fantasy. My little brother drafted Travis Hunter, which I'm like, that's a total fucking crapshoot right there. We have no idea what you're going to get out of him offensively or defensively. But as far as this game, it was a shootout to start and it ended up being a shootout. But Joe Burrow in his not short NFL career, but the time he's been playing football, it just feels like he's gotten beat the fuck up. And it kind of reminds me of Andrew Luck a little bit where, they got him a bunch of skill position players. They got him Philip Dorsett instead of an offensive lineman. And Andrew Luck would be fantastic, but his offensive line would just get him beat up all the time. Like, remember Samson Satelli from the Raiders being a left tackle for him or whatever it was, left guard. And you're like, you could do better than that. With the Bengals, Satelli. I know. They drafted Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell, and obviously that's paying huge dividends right now. But you can't let this go on with Joe Burrow. The torn ACL, the torn ligaments in his hand, then an ankle injury. So it just sucks that he's going to be out for 3 months now. And I think that Jake Browning is good, not great, but because he has so much talent around him, I think he keep the games afloat. As far as this game, it was fun to watch. I think that the Jaguars have something differently going offensively with Liam Cohen as their play caller. Trevor Lawrence throwing some bad interceptions, and really because of Brian Thomas Jr. Like, he did not want to get hit over the middle. That fourth down call where they're up 27-24 and trying to go up 10 points, where they go for it on 4th and 5. He just flat out drops the ball, and that led to Jake Browning going down the field and scoring that go-ahead touchdown. And there's weird moments where Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence are kind of getting shitty with each other, where Liam Cohen's talking to him from the sideline and Trevor Lawrence is like, brushing him off. But I do think the Jaguars have something going on. They just have a lot to work on. And Travis Hunter, I don't know if this is just a ridiculous thing to do for him playing both sides, because it feels like it takes him out of the game. He barely had, an impact offensively. They have him lining up against Jamar Chase. I would not do that right away because Jamar Chase is arguably the best wide receiver in football. So, yeah, my overall thoughts on this game is the Jaguars, they could be something good in time, but just stupid mistakes from a rookie head coach and a young team. And the Bengals have their work cut out for them now with Jake Browning at quarterback and Joe Burrow gone for 3 months. But I do think that he is the best option for them. For anybody out there saying that trade for Kirk Cousins, trade for somebody else, they can't do that. Joe Burrow's making too much goddamn money. And I know that people like to think it's fantasy where you just pick somebody up. It's not feasible. They're going to ride with Jake Browning the rest of the way until he comes back, hopefully by November or December.
Yeah, I thought the game, I think the Bengals season's done, dude.
Really? They're 2-0, Steve.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's done. I'm sorry, but it's predicated around Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
It is. And no matter if it's Mike White or Jake Browning or I don't know. I was looking up the free agents. CJ Beathard, Jake Fromm, and Jeff Driscoll are still out there if they want anyone.
No.
But I thought this game was more about the Jags and the fact that they still ended up losing it. The Trevor Lawrence thing bothered me. Not so much the Brian Thomas Jr. stuff. You see that all the time. I don't know. Brian Thomas has just done so much good that one game where he's avoiding contact, where his quarterback's out. Where the other quarterback's out, and maybe he feels like the game's a wash. I don't know what his mindset is, but it doesn't erase all the good that he's done. Brian Thomas Jr. is one of the best wide receivers in the league, but that weird situation with Cohen where he's telling Lawrence to hit these dudes in the numbers.
Yeah.
Smacking his chest, and then Lawrence just brushes it off. Just brushes it off completely. Like just puts his hand out and goes, screw you. I'm not even going to listen to you. I'm not saying this is, I'm not saying their relationship has completely soured. It's only 2 games in. And the way that Cohen responded to it was, he said it was all about Lawrence's competitiveness, right? It's just how competitive he was, and that's how much he loves him. But I thought that was such a bad look with Trevor Lawrence to just reject it like that. Like, I don't know. You're supposed to be a leader, and you're clearly not doing leader type things. And if your head coach is trying to tell you to do something and kind of getting on you a little bit, you can't just brush it off. Like, you're getting criticized. Take it.
Yeah, we've heard this before. Like a year ago, Doug Peterson was calling out Trevor Lawrence at times, kind of throwing him under the bus about his inaccuracy. And everyone was like, Doug Peterson doesn't know how to coach Trevor Lawrence. We're seeing it now a little bit with Liam Cohen too. And I hear you. I think it's one thing, though, for a new coach, to call somebody out for how to play the quarterback position in the moment. Like if it's one thing like, Trevor, call the timeout, or you threw to the wrong guy here. But if it's just as simple as hit the dude on the numbers, I'm sure Trevor Lawrence is telling him, like, dude, I've been playing quarterback since I was in high school or like a young kid. I know what I'm doing as far as I know I have to hit them on the numbers. So I think that's just, I don't know. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but if it becomes more of a routine thing every week with Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence not getting along, then this won't work out.
I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm saying this could just blow over and it's all water under the bridge and they can go have a pint at the Winchester. But I'm saying that, this will blow over.
Okay, there you go.
I do think
I was going to say, they have the Winchester in Jacksonville.
But if something does end up happening, I think we can point back to week 2 and losing to the Bengals and say, oh, so that's when things kind of started to fizzle. All right. So, but I'm not saying it again. I'm not saying it's a big deal. Could be.
Yeah. As far as, I'm still high on the Jaguars. I do think they will be a good team. But as far as the Bengals, I do think that Jake Browning, with all of the talent they have offensively, I think he can do fairly well against, some of these teams coming up. It's going to be a brutal schedule, but I think he can keep them afloat in the playoff race, but you think otherwise. So let me just ask you this. With a 3-month injury for Joe Burrow, do you think he comes back at all, or do you think they just end his season because they may be so far out of it playoff-wise that's the last we've seen of Joe Burrow for 2025?
Listen, Derek, I'm an expert on toes now that I talked to Dr. Naropatia.
Okay, then.
No, when we talked about it, and when you look back, I think it was because it happened to a Jaguars player. I want to say it wasn't Rayshawn Jenkins. I forgot who it was, but in 2021, I think there was a Jaguars player who sustained a turf toe injury.
Yeah.
And it was the type that needed surgery, but as soon as he came back, then he injured it even more. I don't think that he's going to play again this season. I do think they're going to be a little far out of it, but you don't want to risk it. Like, you paid this guy so much money.
I know.
What if he comes back? You had surgery on it. It's fully healed. And then, boom, it's hurt again.
You don't want that, but it sucks that for what Joe Burrow had to deal with a season ago, with him having an all-time passing season, stat-wise, and then just his defense just not helping him out, and now he's not able to play for the majority of the season. That just sucks. It sucks for him. So the defense has to step up even more. Jake Browning has to step up. And if he's gone for 3 months and maybe not returning, yeah, I mean, the pressure's on Zach Taylor. Like this will be extremely unfair. But now, if they have a shitty season again, it doesn't matter that Joe Burrow wasn't out there. I think that Zach Taylor's on the hot seat. So I think this is only bad for him. We'll see what happens defensively the rest of the way. More pressure on Trey Hendrickson in that group. Yeah, it just sucks that we're not going to see Joe Burrow for 3 months here, a good deal of the season.
Yes, it does. And like, how sad is me and a coworker were talking about like the award season, like most improved player, how it's got to be kind of a bittersweet thing. It's like, thank you so much. I'm getting the recognition, but this is all you. This is also you telling me, hey, I wasn't very good before, and now I'm good. So, hey, and then kind of equated it to comeback player of the year. It's like, there's no MVP to Joe Burrow's name, just 2-time comeback player of the year. That's even the last time you saw it at the quarterback show. When he accepted the award, he's just like, thanks, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you supposed to feel? It's like, all right, cool. I came back from an injury and played really well. This isn't anything else. This isn't a Lombardi.
Yeah. And it's on the table that he could win his 3rd comeback player of the year. So we'll see. It just sucks that we won't have one of the best quarterbacks in all of football for 3 months. That sucks to me. But I still think that Jake Browning could play good football. I don't know about great football, though. He did throw 3 interceptions in this game to begin with. As far as the other team from the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens, they kicked the crap out of the Browns. And, they talked a big game about stopping Derrick Henry. Like Grant Delpit was asked, like, is it hard bringing down Derrick Henry? And he said, not really. And I thought that Derrick Henry would explode in this game, but he didn't. He only rushed for 23 yards and had a fumble. But as explosive as they were offensively against the Buffalo Bills, they were the same against the Cleveland Browns, with Lamar Jackson throwing for four touchdown passes. And DeAndre Hopkins has 2 touchdowns on the season that make him look like his Houston Texans self. So, I mean, nothing really to write home about in this game. It's just that the Baltimore Ravens are what we expected, putting up 81 points for the first 2 weeks of the season. And the Cleveland Browns look like maybe right now the worst team of football.
I mean, what is there really to say about this game? We felt like the Ravens were going to come back with a vengeance because of how that game ended against the Bills, and they did. And I think it was just 2 teams that are on totally different trajectories right now. Though Myles Garrett still made a little bit of an impact in this game, but other than that, like, there really wasn't much to it. I honestly didn't pay attention to this one much. I was kind of just keeping track along with the box scores. This wasn't exactly in the multi-view.
No, when I had my quad box going on 2 different TVs, this game was off of the 8 set.
Jesus.
I know. Dude, my little brother came over and he was like, we're not going to put all 8 games simultaneously, are we? I'm like, of course we are. He goes, how could you pay attention to everything? I go, watch me. And of course I didn't, but it's just fun to do it that way.
It's hard. It's really tough, but I love the quad box. I'm getting more used to the quad box now.
Quad box is the way to go. Rams and Titans. The Rams win this game. What was it? I actually don't have the final score in front of me, but they exploded in the second half. And
33-19.
There you go, 33-19. Cam Ward threw a great touchdown pass to end the half. It was beautiful, but that's about it offensively for the Titans this season. The Rams, the Puka Nacua 45-yard touchdown run on 4th and 1 was impressive. Devontae Adams scoring. I mean, right now I think you have to say the Rams are the most impressive team in the NFC West so far, but they haven't played anybody fantastic. The Houston Texans didn't do anything offensively in week 1. They, barely got by yesterday, but lose that game to the Buccaneers. And then the Rams go into Tennessee and just beat the crap out of them, and they're a talented team. So nothing really to write home about this game either. It's just that the Rams look really good, and the Titans are learning to be an NFL team again.
Yeah, you mentioned the name, though. To me, the difference maker and the place where they haven't lost a step, it's kind of similar to Aaron Donald. You're wondering, like, how the hell are they going to replace that, right? And clearly last year, with how they looked on the defensive line, didn't really matter, right? with Jared Verse and Kobe Turner and who is it, Byron Young, all those guys who I think was number 4 on the Gruden Grinders, man. Forgot to mention that Mac Jones is number 1 Gruden Grinder. It's brought to you by Chevrolet. And, but the guy they haven't had trouble finding a replacement for, another one, is Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua is unreal. And, you know, he was the thing that really separated him was just the volume of catches that he was getting in his first year, his rookie season. Obviously, he set records that rookie year, and then Brock Bowers ended up surpassing him. But now he looks so strong. He looks like he understands that he's the best player in the league. And when he says something along the line, like I can't even remember what he said. It was when he was talking about Brock Purdy and how he wouldn't give him $50 million a year. Like he'd maybe give him 40. And it's like, God, that guy's kind of running his mouth, but it seems like he could talk that shit and back it up. He looks like maybe the best receiver in the division right now and one of the best in the NFL. So I think that's what I came away with. It's just Puka Nacua and Cam Ward. Once he gets a solid team. I mean, I texted you as soon as I saw that throw. Yeah. I had that one in the quad box. That was in the top left corner.
Yeah.
I was like, good God, that Cam Ward throw. Jesse didn't understand like why I was getting a little amped up. I was like, oh, as soon as he made that throw, as soon as he released the ball, because you don't do that. You don't do it from outside the right hash marks, throw it across your body to the other side of the end zone. You just don't do that.
No, it was everything wrong with football. Like I was watching the play and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I did the same thing. And I was like, that's a sweet play. But like, of course, you know, Brian Callahan's going to be like, okay, great play. Here's what you did wrong here. But of course, like, you know, at the end of the day, he scored. Like, you know, like Kyle Shanahan talking about the Tunges touchdown. You know, he's like, should Brock have thrown that ball? No. At the end of the day, did he score? Yes. I can't say much, but at the end of the day, I like, you know, when I go back to review the tape with him, I'm like, Brock, what are you looking here? But yeah, you scored, but like, this is not what we teach you.
It's Steve Kerr watching Steph Curry.
Exactly. The Bills and the Jets, Steven thought this game was going to be close because Ed Oliver was out and he was a big fan of the Jets running game, and yikes. It was the Bills running game, just James Cook running all over the Jets, looking like one of the better running backs in all of football. And dude, Joe Brady has just changed Josh Allen for the better. Like there's games where he's going to erupt and throw for 300 yards and, you know, 2 touchdown passes and rush for 2, you know, touchdowns. But there's also games where Josh Allen doesn't have to do that much because Joe Brady sets everything up perfectly for him. The running game was going great. The Elijah Moore touchdown run as well. Josh Allen getting busted in the nose and having to play with a tampoon in his nose. That's a crooked kite turn, by the way. But yeah, he and the Bills look great, and they always dominate the Jets. I think Justin Fields is going to struggle just being the starting quarterback. I think the Steelers defense, I don't know what to make of it right now. We'll talk about their loss to the Seahawks, but Justin Fields was able to run around and do his thing against the Steelers defense. The Bills they're more sound, I guess, and Sean McDermott has them ready to play. So he just struggled out there, and Joey Bosa going all after him and, you know, causing a fumble. So I'd say the Bills, once again, are one of the better teams in the AFC, and there's clowning on a bad team right now in the Jets.
Listen, if Justin Fields was healthy in the fourth quarter, I mean, I think they would have won that game. I think there's no doubt about it. Stop it. He did not look when I watched him against the Steelers, and I had my reasoning, okay? It was the RPOs, understanding the right times, when to run, when to pass. And with Breece Hall, it looked like this is the type of team that's going to be averaging at least like 100 rushing yards a game. Like I really thought that after watching that first one against the Steelers. And maybe it is a little bit of the Steelers defense, but also before he, you know, got ruled out with the concussion, Fields was not making the easy plays. He was not making the easy throws like he was. He had this connection to Garrett Wilson in week 1 where I thought he brought that over from Ohio State, and I was convinced that could have some sustainability going into the next one against the Bills. So I tried sounding smart. Came away looking like a jackass. If anyone listened to that. I don't think anyone listens to us for our actual football analyses, but if anyone ever does, you could think back on that one and think, good God, probably shouldn't listen to this podcast anymore.
Well, I took your advice and I applied it to Dirty Work because I was talking about this matchup with Copes, and I was like, I could see this going either way. I mean, the Bills should win this game, but I could see the Jets back to recovering here. And he's like, "You're crazy," and sure enough, I was.
Yeah, don't follow anything that I say anymore. Just don't listen to me.
The Dolphins defense can't stop anybody. They have good pass rushers, but besides that, the secondary is brutal, even with Minka Fitzpatrick. Giving up 33 points in back-to-back games. And it's pretty much now where, with Mike Vrabel and what they have talent-wise with the Patriots, they're going to be that team that probably finishes second to the Bills and maybe, challenges them in the AFC West or the AFC East for years to come. And the Dolphins are on the decline. It's pretty evident that I don't know how long this is going to last, but Mike McDaniel's on his last legs, and Tua has resorted back to being that guy we saw when Brian Flores was his coach. He's not making good throws. Tyreek Hill just totally frustrated with him. I thought that they were going to win the game when I saw Devon A-Chain bust that run, but of course he steps out of bounds and Milton Williams ends the game. Really fun, like a track meet between Malik Washington having that punt return for a touchdown, and then right away Antonio Gibson scoring on the kickoff return, and Mike Vrabel running step for step with him on the sideline. But yeah, I think this just shows that the Patriots will be that new team in the AFC East that won't win the division, but maybe challenging the Bills in their competitive matchups. And the Dolphins are they're going away slowly. They're eventually, I think, going to fire Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, and this team is on the decline right now.
Derek, they're not going to fire the guy who sounds like this after a game.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game, honestly. And that is how you lose the game. You're moving the ball down the field. You're 1st and 10, and then you find yourself at 2nd and 20. That was critical.
Okay. I love Mike McDaniel as far as his shtick. He was, you brought it up all the time. He's hilarious in his press conferences when things are going well. When he was the 49ers offensive coordinator, he was quirky, he was funny, and he didn't have the job, so he could just kind of be laid back and loose. When he had his first couple seasons with the Dolphins, same way. He was, making, jokes, and everybody was laughing at his jokes. And then he makes like dark riffs in the offseason where he's like, "We're one step closer to death, everybody." And you hear these reports about Jalen Ramsey, and he's saying stuff like that. You wonder, can we buy this guy's shtick anymore? Like, can we buy him as an NFL head coach? He might be a fantastic, innovative mind. But as far as like a leader of men, and I use this term all the time and you hate it, but It's true. When you command a room of men, can you rely on that guy? I don't know.
I'd love to get Charles Barkley on here because he went off about the people who use the leader of men term when talking about head coaches. It's hilarious.
No, but it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sad, man.
I know.
It's like watching your favorite actor. It's like, for me, it's like watching Will Smith just deteriorate into what he is now.
Mike McDaniel's the Will Smith of the NFL.
To me, he is. It's like you love this guy at first, and then you're just seeing things not go his way, and then boom, all of a sudden he's slapping Chris Rock on the Oscars stage because Chris Rock made a joke about his wife looking like Demi Moore and G.I. Jane, who's bald. The Mike McDaniel thing, it just makes me sad. I do want them to let him go out of that role just to put him out of his misery, because I don't like this version of Mike McDaniel. I don't like this one.
Yeah. And
don't like it.
I know. And the press conference is getting worse where he stammers too much. He doesn't know what he's saying. It's not a clear thought. It just sounds bad. It just sounds really bad every time he's up there now. Yeah.
Doesn't help.
The Lions looked like themselves a year ago, scoring 52 points in this game and beating up on the Chicago Bears. And, Ben Johnson was getting frustrated on last Thursday and Friday, being asked about his choices in the game, in the loss to Minnesota. And then this game, man, Caleb Williams needs a lot of work. But really, I think the Lions were making a statement saying we can win and be an effective team and look like the offense of last year without Ben Johnson. And they did. Jared Goff, as efficient as he was a season ago, completion percentage and only missing on 5 passes and throwing 5 touchdown passes, 3 touchdown passes to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dan Campbell doing Dan Campbell things where they go forward on 4th and goal and they're already ahead of the Bears to run up the score. I just wished watching that game, and Ben Johnson handled it very well in the post game, saying, "What do you expect? What do you expect? That's what they do. I know that from Dan. They run up the score. They go for it on 4th and goal. What do you expect?" I think he's a little pissed, but whatever. He understands. Fox, the Fox broadcast team, they do a fantastic job on Fox for these NFL games. How do you not pan to Ben Johnson when Amon-Ra St. Brown catches that touchdown pass to go up 52-21? How do you not show his reaction? That was a missed opportunity.
Was that the one where his hamstring did his hamstring celebration?
Yes.
I thought he was legitimately hurt then.
I thought so too. That I hate that celebration. It's
I
dumb.
think that's why they were focused on that. I mean, they should have gone to Ben Johnson at some point, but in real time, that director of whoever was in that broadcast truck on that production team said, "No, we got to stick with this shot."
I get it, but you can also pan to Ben Johnson as soon as that's over.
Sure.
I learned at NFL Network, there was this phrase they said all the time, "Don't cheat me on the reacts," which is that, you want reaction shots. Whenever someone scores, you want to see the coach, you want to see the opposing quarterback, you want that in a highlight. I can see it right now.
On the reacts.
Don't cheat me on the reacts.
That's the most LA thing ever.
No, I didn't
Don't
like it.
Don't cheat
either.
me on the reacts, bro.
Yeah. But you that happened all the time where your highlight supervisor, the high soup we called it, they will walk away for 5 minutes and then they come back and be like, "Okay, who scored?" You have to give them all the details. And you tell them, like, "Then how come we don't see the reactions in the highlight?" And you're like, "Well, because they didn't show them." Bullshit, they didn't show them. They talk to the editor. The editor, pull it up. Let's see. And you show them, you prove them wrong, and they're like, all right, well done. Like, I was shocked they didn't show him. And to me, it's one game. I don't know if the Lions are back, but they definitely prove something where their offense can be at times still as effective as a season ago. And dude, Caleb, I don't know, man. I do not know.
I don't come away with that, actually.
Okay.
The Caleb thing, I actually thought he was fine. I'm wondering what the hell happened with this offensive line that you supposedly beefed up to give Caleb Williams some protection.
That too.
Like, that was my thing. I just don't think he had any time to throw. I actually thought Williams was okay. Like, him and Roma Dunze connected a couple of times, and the Bears defense just gave him no help by giving up touchdowns on 3 straight possessions. Like, how are you supposed to even operate when you're doing that? Again, I'm not saying Caleb Williams is like this perfect quarterback, but this wasn't a game to me. The first game against the Vikings, that's one where I said, okay, yeah, Williams needs some work. This wasn't that game for me. This one, I came away thinking, what the hell is this beefed up offensive line and where's it at? You gave the Bay Area native Drew Dahlman the big time contract as the center. You got Joe Thuney, an all pro. Braxton Jones, Jonah Jackson, Darnell Wright. Like, these are guys that are meant to protect the quarterback, and they just didn't do it against that Lions defensive line. Aiden Hutchinson, maybe leading the race for comeback player of the year. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought the Bears offensive line to me was the bigger issue rather than just, Caleb. I actually thought Caleb Williams was okay, but the Lions just looked like the Lions too. God, I don't know if there's anything that's as enjoyable right now as when they run a little outside zone with Jahmyr Gibbs and he just gets ahead of steam and you got receivers blocking downfield. It's perfect. Like, they have such a solid offense. And I texted you about it. I think really this is, if you're a Packers fan, even though you just watched the Lions destroy the Bears, you should be feeling pretty damn good, because I think in week 1, sure, the offense where they only scored 6 points. Yeah, that might have had to do with it being week 1 and just kind of shaking the rust off. But I think it had to do in large part with your defense. So I think if you're watching that, you're a Packers fan, you're thinking, damn, we got something. So yeah, it was it was, and Jared Goff looked good. Like Jared
Yeah.
Goff finally looked.
He looked
good.
really good.
Yeah, so I don't think the Lions team went away. Did you see Jamison Williams with his Randy Moss kind of stat line?
2 catches for over 100 yards.
Yeah, 2 catches for over 100 yards. Like, hey, I'm Randy Moss.
I mean, yeah, I hear you on Caleb, and got it. I feel like Ryan Poles has done everything right as you know, a GM. Like what you should do, go and get the franchise quarterback, improve the offensive line. But like all the moves they made seems so, like solid moves to me. It just hasn't panned out right now. So
we should bring on Nick Friedel, a noted Bears fan who's now going to be covering the Warriors for The Athletic.
Yes.
We should bring him on the podcast, and because he has tweeted out every week these last couple of weeks, why did we hire Poles as the GM?
Why not? Because I feel like he's done the right things. Like seriously, like you draft Caleb Williams. You should do that. Most GMs would have done that. To trade for Joe Thuney, to get Drew Dahlman in free agency. Those are all good moves. Just hasn't panned out. I don't know what the hell's going on. And yeah, watching Caleb Williams, I guess it was more so week 1. He did have some good throws in this game. He does look a little uncomfortable and still getting used to the offense. And there was inaccuracy at times, but I watched Alex Smith on the pregame show for ESPN talking about Caleb Williams, and he showed the film about like how we may think that he's not playing well, but he's doing the right things. There was one play though where DJ Moore is wide open for a touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings, and Caleb Williams just misses him. And he shows on the film that DJ Moore was supposed to run an out route on that play, but instead was so wide open, just green grass in front of him, that he called an audible and went straight up the field. And he said Caleb Williams is not anticipating that. But I will also argue, if you're a good quarterback, shouldn't you just see that your wide receiver is completely uncovered and just throw the damn ball that way? That's the way I look at it. So I think it's equal on both parts, where Caleb Williams is not getting the support around him, but also he's just not playing well.
I mean, it's a mix of both. It's I mean, it's still very early. I think the first game was an indictment on Caleb. I think this second game was an indictment on the offensive line. Who they got next week? I think it's like the Cowboys, because Brady's calling the game. So that's kind of a good, I don't know, litmus test, whatever you want to call it.
Speaking of the Cowboys, them and the
measuring
Giants
stick game.
Yeah, measuring stick.
That's the one.
There you go. Cowboys and Giants played in a entertaining game. Probably the most thrilling game that these two teams have played in quite some time. And it was just, 6 lead changes in the fourth quarter, then leading to overtime, or to tie the game. Brendan Aubrey had to hit a 64-yard field goal. And before that, you thought the Giants won the game. Then you thought the Cowboys won the game by them scoring a touchdown with 2 minutes left in the game. Then Russell Wilson, he was just throwing bombs in this game. How many yards did he throw for?
450.
God, he was just all he had in this game was deep balls. But you know what? It was impressive for most of the game until overtime. We threw a horrendous interception. But the touchdown pass he threw to Malik Neighbors, that was Randy Moss-like. Just him heaving it deep. And for everybody that said Russell Wilson looked like shit week 1, because he did. And maybe that Jackson Dart should play, but this buys them more time. And this makes Brian Daboll look better. This makes, everybody look better with the Giants. And their pass rush, Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau all lined up on that defensive line, where they're putting Thibodeau at defensive tackle next to Dexter Lawrence on passing downs. That's going to be tough for most teams to deal with. But yeah, in the end, Russell Wilson just throws a bonehead interception and the Cowboys win. But I came away impressed with both teams, really with the Giants, honestly, even in a losing effort.
Dude, but he's like, look, man, this is all I got left. That deep ball, that deep shot to Neighbors. I'm over 35 years old, man. I can't be doing this anymore. Is he 35?
Yeah. 35, 36, whatever it is.
I can't be doing this anymore. This is all I got. I've run out of gas. That's what that told me in overtime. But that's what we expected, man. That's what we thought Russell Wilson could be with the Giants, and I'm sure that's what they thought he could be. Just get a guy who can heave it to Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is down there somewhere. Neighbors know my name. Russell Wilson. and I'm looking him up right now. I actually didn't look. I should have looked it up before this, but I'm just trying to look at his. Yeah, the yards per attempt. Like he had the yards per attempt in the first game, 4.5. 4.5 yards per attempt in the second game, 11.
Yeah.
Like that's what you want. Just let him heave it. Let it fly, man. That's all you can do with Russ. Eventually, Jackson Dart is probably going to take over because Russ does this every year where he looks good and then just tires out towards the end of the season. So you're probably going to see Jackson Dart get some NFL reps before he becomes like a full-time starter going into next year. But just let it fly. That's all they got to do. I believe I can fly.
Yeah, thank you. I think that Russ, the same thing happened a year ago where he was with the Steelers and they benched Justin Fields for him to, air it out deep to George Pickens and Mike Williams. Like I remember when Mike Williams got there and he got so much shit from Aaron Rodgers for not going to the red line, and then he throws a deep ball to Mike Williams, and that's all that Russell Wilson knows how to do with the Steelers, and then it became old. Like they weren't able to do that where they weren't seeing the same coverages anymore that were wide open. So Russell Wilson looked really good in this game, but let's see about him going forward. Moving on here as we do quick hits. Speaking of the Steelers laid an egg against the Seahawks, and I would say right now, amongst all the teams in the NFC West, this was probably the most impressive victory, just because I anticipated the Seahawks having the same inept offense as we saw against the San Francisco 49ers. With this game, I mean, Sam Darnold still threw some bad interceptions, but the offense looked 10 times better. Jackson Smith-Njigba just, cruising by Jalen Ramsey. I mean, Jalen Ramsey got a pick, but he was burning him. The running game got going with Kenneth Walker. I don't know what to make of the Steelers' defense. I brought this up earlier, but I don't know if they're good. I would have to believe they're good with T.J. Watt and how many guys they have, but it is a new defense with Jalen Ramsey and Jabril Peppers out there. So I think that Mike Tomlin will figure things out for that defense, but right now I don't think they're a good unit. And as far as the offense, I mean, Aaron Rodgers can throw to DK Metcalf and get that touchdown, but the leading receiver on the team was Jalen Warren. So I think they need a true wide receiver 2 next to him. They got tight ends. It's not really the offense that's the problem right now. It's the defense for the Steelers. So I found that, pretty surprising. And also Caleb Johnson, the young running back, kick return where he acted like he didn't touch the ball, but he clearly did and thought that the ball would have rolled back for a touchback. That's a boneheaded play where the Seahawks recovered on the ball and get the touchdown. That's what basically broke their back in this game to give the Seahawks the win.
Yeah. But I think another thing with Aaron Rodgers is just he's not mobile. And if you don't protect the quarterback, then I mean, what's he going to be able to do? He was sacked a handful of times, but I'm not going to act like I was paying attention to every single snap, but it was a quad box game, obviously. And every time I looked over, it just seemed like Rodgers was under duress. And you mentioned the Jalen Ramsey thing. As much as we can pull out the highlights from that first game against the Jets where he cracks Garrett Wilson to make the game-saving play, I think the passer rating on him right now is like I think the opposing passer rating is like in the 110s or something. And each time he's been targeted, I think it's like 8 for 8 total so far. So yeah, we can play highlights all we want with Jalen Ramsey. I don't think that tells the full story. I think their defensive line will pick it up, but Seahawks, man, they just look like a pretty well-coached team. They're this weird one, dude. I can't really figure them out. They're like this plucky team who can be physical. Kenneth Walker Jr. is just awesome whenever he gets going. Hopefully he manages to stay healthy, and him and Zach Charbonnet can be a great 1-2 punch, even though I think Charbonnet had like 10 yards rushing on 15 attempts. And I know that because I had him in fantasy and I started him when I had him benched last week. And I lost in every single league that I played in this week. Don't take any fantasy advice from me. If you're anybody listening to this, or so betting, I don't really know how to evaluate them right now. Like they're just solid, man. It was a good win.
I think you could say that for a lot of teams in the NFL because it's so early on where they look like dog shit week 1 and they're like, ooh, they played better week 2. I don't know what to make of this team.
Yeah.
But the Colts look pretty good. And I got to say, Daniel Jones, It may not be stat-wise what we saw from Sam Darnold a season ago, but I think that Shane Steichen's found his quarterback for right now. I don't know about next season or Anthony Richardson's future with the team, but Daniel Jones fits this team pretty well. And the Broncos played pretty sound for most of the game, but the Colts just hung around and hung around and hung around. And in the end, I've only seen this call twice, and it went in favor of the Colts. Leverage. So at the end of this game, the Colts attempt a 60-yard field goal and miss it. But then you think the game's over and the Broncos win, and sure enough, the Colts are called for leverage where the Broncos are called for leverage where a defensive player used a Colt player to propel himself up in the air to attempt to block the kick. And Sean Payton even said, like, I probably shouldn't have the field goal block team on that. I probably should just let it be a normal field goal and just let it go and make him miss. But they were aggressive and they make the field goal to win the game or get the penalty and win the game. So Colts are 2-0. Don't know what to make of the AFC South right now with the Texans 0-2 and Jaguars 1-1. Tight ends are still learning how to be an NFL team, and Cam Warren's learning how to be an NFL quarterback. But right now, it's early. Colts look like a pretty solid team.
They've scored points on all but 3 drives so far. Like in the first game, they scored points against the Dolphins in every single drive, and Daniel Jones was the first Colts quarterback to do that in his debut, I think. They're just got talent, dude. Like it's talent plus a capable quarterback. I mean, you see that with Mac Jones with the 49ers. You see it with Sam Darnold with the Vikings, even with the Seahawks a little bit. You give guys who you may have thought were kind of just meh in the league, you give them something like this and they can flourish. And I'm so happy for Jones, man. I think he got I don't say you got a raw deal. I mean, a lot of it was self-inflicted with some of the things that he would, I don't know, just the natural look on his face where he just kind of looks nervous all the time, especially when there's a close-up on him. And it looks even worse when he's thrown for like 40 yards on 10 attempts and he's playing for the New York Giants and he's about to get sacked for the 7th time. It's not nearly as bad now. And I just think that they're a good football team. And the Jonathan Taylor thing, he's just so good, man. I think he had like over 200 yards from scrimmage or something like that. I know he had 165 yards rushing. So they're just a good team. And Daniel Jones is finally found somewhere. I don't know if he's like their long-term quarterback, but he's good enough for this season.
I would say so. As we were talking about earlier, the Arizona Cardinals just beat up on the Carolina Panthers. They were leading this game 27-3, and some onside kicks, some lackadaisical defense in the fourth quarter got the Panthers back in this game, and Calais Campbell ends things on 4th down with a sack. A lot of defensive calls going against the Arizona Cardinals to extend that drive at the end, but you see fight from the Panthers. It would have been exciting had they won the game to come back all the way down by 24 points, but the Arizona Cardinals to me look like the better team, obviously.
Yeah, and it's like I told you, it's like I said at the top, it's all about the defensive line. I think they had 21 pressures in total, and pressures are kind of an inflated stat. Like I was following Matt Barrows and his little minute minutia or whatever it's called on The Athletic, and he was putting the pressure numbers on for the 49ers. And it's like, if you look on, say, NFL Pro and you look on like their little next gen stats page, the pressures are a little different. And I think he's using the PFF numbers, and I think PFF kind of, it does inflate those pressure stats. But point being, I think they're all pretty accurate, and the Cardinals were leading across the board. And Josh Sweat, Baron Browning, Zaven Collins, Mac Wilson, Calais Campbell, like they just mix these things up, and they sometimes use this defensive front where it's just technically one defensive lineman and the rest are off-ball linebackers, or outside linebackers rather. Like it's pretty confusing what they do, and why I'm really excited to see what happens in the trenches. But also Bryce Young, I don't know. That's one where, you're talking about the Caleb Williams and you're kind of questionable about him. I'm kind of that way with Bryce Young. I just don't know with him.
Yeah, which is ironic because, the Chicago Bears traded away their first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers to get Bryce Young. And then, Bryce Young was so terrible his rookie season that they should have got the first overall pick again. And in the end, they traded away to the Bears because of that trade, and they get Caleb Williams. So a very interesting thing right now where you don't know who's better. I would say Caleb Williams probably is slightly better than Bryce Young right now, but it's not by that much. And then the game that I think most people were watching, the nationally televised game on Fox, their Super Bowl rematch between the Eagles and Chiefs. Just simply put, Jalen Hurts did not go crazy in this game stat-wise, but the Eagles are just able to establish their physicality through the running game and defensively. And, for how lackadaisical I thought they were defensively in their game, the opener against the Cowboys, they shut things down with the Chiefs, and it might have been easier because skill set wise, the Chiefs don't have a ton of guys. Like right now, Patrick Mahomes' go-to guys with the injury to Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice being suspended the first 6 weeks of the season, he just can throw to Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown, and Tyquell Thornton right now, who only got the only receiving touchdown of the game, and Patrick Mahomes is your leading rusher. They can't do that for the Chiefs. They have to run the football with how little skill set guys they have. So, in Travis Kelce, some games he looks great, like his old self, and some games he bobbles a pass that he's about to score in the end zone and take the lead, and the Eagles come up with it. So, as long as the Eagles are able to play a little defense, run the football with Saquon, and do the tush push over and over and over again, they're going to be the best team in football.
I want to pull this thing up because I don't really want to steal it. This is exactly how I feel about the Chiefs right now. And Cousin Sal, I think, put it really great. Cousin Sal, former prankster on Jimmy Kimmel's show.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel's cousin, now on Bill Simmons' podcast. And I think some of the things they say on their little Monday morning quarterback show or whatever they do, some of them are like, okay, but this one I fully agree with.
I give up. I told you to write down some things that you're just giving up on after 2 weeks. So what was the first thing after 2 weeks you've given up on?
I've given up on trying to enjoy Chiefs games. They're not fun to watch unless you're enamored with the tailored cutaways. They're just way more exciting teams to watch, move the ball. Yeah. I think it's time to give them 1 p.m. kickoff slots, away the full dose of primetime games. It takes them 11 minutes to score. And, when it's a dozen play drive, some dumb happens like Kelce did, like hits off his hand and interception the other way. I mean, I was looking at this 3 years ago, they averaged 29 points per game. And the 5 years before that, they were anywhere from 29 to 35, right? Since the 3 years, it's 21, 21, and 21 and a half. That's gigantic movement. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of with them.
I hear you.
With a little bit of Mahomes magic, sure, you might get that, but for the entire game, like I watched that and I was just bored.
I know. It was a relatively boring game, but they're always going to put Mahomes in prime time. It's the Chiefs. They've won 3 Super Bowls. It's not as high-flying as an offense as in years past. They're more defensive-oriented now, but they're always going to put them in prime time. I understand what he's saying. It's not as entertaining. It's still Mahomes. They're always going to do that.
Well, sure, but I can still hate it.
Yeah, I know. That's fair. And then the Sunday night game, that was worse to me. Like that, the fact that was a Sunday night game. I know that Fox is going to lock that Eagles-Chiefs game, but just because Michael Penix and J.J. McCarthy played in the national championship game doesn't mean that we should get that game on Sunday Night Football. That was not worthy enough to be Sunday Night Football to me. So it was just hard to watch. Both teams. Like, there's so many times where the Vikings could have come back in that game just because the Falcons didn't take the opportunities they had. They could have just gone over the top and throw a deep pass, but it was just run with Brian Robinson, run with Tyler Algier, and kick field goals with Parker Romo. And the Falcons played good defense, but J.J. McCarthy, as good as he was in the fourth quarter against the Chicago Bears, and for the majority of that game, he did not play well. But last Sunday night, and now he's out 2 to 5 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if also Kevin O'Connell was like, "You're hurt. You probably could play, but also, you probably should sit a while because you're not ready to play. Like I can imagine him in the last 2 years going from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold to now JJ McCarthy. I'm not out on JJ McCarthy. I think just right away it's going to be a process with him being their starting quarterback. So yeah, Vikings dealing with their injuries. They got JJ McCarthy out and they got Aaron Jones, and I really don't know what to expect from Carson Wentz at this point. So yeah, I think they're in a little bit of trouble.
Well, it's tough. Like I think we mentioned it on the podcast, but when Darnold kind of just signed with the Vikings and it was automatic, or excuse me, signed with the Seahawks, and it's automatic that he's just not going to re-sign with the Vikings, I think we both kind of pondered, like, is that the right move?
Yeah.
I mean, you got, a rookie quarterback coming off of, what is it? Was it a meniscus, a torn meniscus, I think?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got a rookie quarterback who's never made his day, and you're just going to put all the eggs into the McCarthy basket when McCarthy Ranch, when, shout out Milpitas, when you got a guy who's clearly proven with this team and someone that the team loves, someone who had kind of a historic season in his first with the Vikings, a guy who brought you to the last regular season game trying to make it to the postseason against the Lions. Sure, it didn't work out, but you got to look back at that and think, why did they not take a chance maybe and sign Darnold to, I don't know. I don't know if it would have been a 3-year extension of worth 30 mil like he got with the Seahawks. I don't know if it would have just been a 2-year extension, but I do think they're going to look back on that and wonder, damn, what if we did sign him? Because now you're going with Birkenstock Wentz.
Yeah. And I think that's just the philosophy of their GM, Kwesi Amosa Denza. I think that's how you pronounce his name, but I could be totally off on that one. I think that they just saw their team and they didn't want to pay a quarterback a shit ton of money anymore. So they go the cheaper option with Sam Darnold. They could have had Kirk Cousins back, but he wanted to be paid a certain amount of money. They drafted JJ McCarthy. They want to see what they have in him. I'm sure Kevin O'Connell goes with the flow, but I think he wants the best quarterback possible. I think it's just going to take some time. I do also wonder, when you see JJ McCarthy playing like that, Mike Silver was on with us in March. Should they have gone with Aaron Rodgers instead and just had JJ kind of learn a little bit more? I don't know, but
yeah,
it seems like the Vikings are going through it a little bit just based on the quarterback play.
So we're going to see Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning and Marcus Mariota versus Geno Smith.
Woo, hell yeah.
Week 3.
Hell yeah. And yeah, I think it's also the offensive line. The offensive line has not played well for the Minnesota Vikings. And lastly, the Monday night game before the Raiders and Chargers. This game was fun, even though offensively it was hard to watch at times. The Buccaneers win 20-19. They're 2-0 once again. And I thought that this game was over once Nick Chubb had that big run. And then the Baker Mayfield, running on 4th down with his legs up in the air, getting hit by C.J. Gardner-Johnson and just him staring him down. Baker Mayfield has gone from that dude that had too many progressive commercials at first to a guy that had, pretty good mic-dumb moments in the NFL. I was born being dangerous, whatever the quote was back in the day. Mm-hmm. And then he fell out of favor with the Browns. Him and Kevin Stefanski didn't get along. They wanted to go with Deshaun Watson, which in hindsight now seems like a terrible move. And then he bounced around, went from the Panthers to the Rams, and landed with the Bucs. And now he's having this resurgence with the Bucs, where they're by far the best team in that division. So I think the Buccaneers once again will win that division easily. And as far as the Texans, CJ Stroud has not looked good since his rookie year.
Nah.
I don't know what's gone on. I think that he and Bobby Slowick should have been a duo for quite some time, but I guess he didn't like Bobby Slowick challenging him. So now he has a new offensive coordinator, Nick Caley. The offensive line doesn't play well. They get no running game. The only guy they have on the receiving core that's basically worth a damn is Nico Collins. So there was moments in this game, though, where I was baffled why DeMeco Ryans didn't just kick the football or kick a field goal. They just had to score a touchdown. I thought it was dumb. There was one play where they were in the red zone and went for it. And I was like, just kick the field goal. Make it 14-13. Kick 2 field goals and win this game. In the end, it didn't matter. The Buccaneers won the game, but I still think there's huge problems with how good the defense is and that pass rush for the Texans is with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Offensively, they just do nothing.
Yeah, I think I think there might be a little bit of a point there to to this. Ever since this week 2 game against the Bears last year.
Yeah.
Learn from those mistakes, and everything that you got, bro, is in you already, bro. You're gonna be a hell of a player in this league. All right, boy. For sure.
Even though he kind of little brothered Caleb Williams there,
Yeah.
he's only thrown 3 touchdowns in a single game once since that moment.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's a good recall, Stephen, because yeah, I remember seeing that moment. And I was like, equal parts, like good on CJ to give, some advice to Caleb. But at the same time, I'm sure Caleb's like, bro, you just got in the league, and yeah, CJ has not looked good since that moment. Yeah.
Let's let's do a little on-screen math here. So I just did the remainder for 2024. Ever since that week 2 game, 17 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He was sacked 45 times in that span, while with a 64 completion percentage. And so far 1 touchdown, 1 interception, just an 85 rating, sacked 6 times in 2 games. He is not been very good, man. It's just ever since then, the football gods looking down on him like, CJ, come on, dude. You're in your second year. Barely in your sophomore year. And you're telling Caleb you got to stop taking those hits after 1 game.
Yeah. Did you want to play something for Baker Mayfield here?
I did. Just a little intro. This is very quick. Just the intro to his press conference. It's just an all-timer.
Yes.
What'd you think of the game, Rashad? I don't know what the hell did he look at?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What up?
Yes.
What'd you think of the game, Rashad?
That's a weird. It's a weird introduction too, where like he was like standing there, like waiting for someone to be like, Baker, over here. Yeah, first question. Oh yes. And then you just like realize like, oh, we won that fucking game.
Yeah.
I've learned to appreciate Baker Mayfield for, as I said, the guy that, was in a ton of progressive commercials initially when his career started. You're like, this guy's in too many commercials. Now you're like, all right, I kind of like Baker Mayfield. He has these funny things. He, in the post-game press conference, he calls out CJ Gardner-Johnson in a fun way, be like, yeah, my best friend, like rolling his eyes. So I like Baker. Baker actually has grown on me to be, equal parts a good personality, but also one of the better quarterbacks in football.
I think he also suffered early from this, as far as the perception. I think he suffered from the Johnny Manzielification of how we viewed maybe the more brash college quarterbacks, where he obviously did what he did against Ohio State and planting the flag on their logo at the 50 and doing all those different things. Obviously the commercials, and then playing on the Browns, him being at the center of that Hard Knocks episode where he has the RVs. But I think when I turned around, as far as like, I didn't really know what to think of Baker at that time, but when I really turned around on him was when he was playing with, I think, like a partially torn labrum. And it just kind of reminded me a little bit of like it just went back to like that Matthew Stafford thing, his rookie year. And it's like, God, this guy's really tough. And obviously that game against the Raiders that he had for the Rams, when he just came in and just played, absolutely crushed them, crushed any hopes and dreams that the Raiders had of that time of winning with Derek Carr. And actually that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me when it came to DC. Anyone who's comparing Geno Smith to DC right now, I dare Geno to lose to Jeff Saturday, who just analyzes pancake blocks on ESPN's Get Up, and who does a really good job, actually. I watch that show in the morning, and I do enjoy the pancake block segment. It gets me every time, especially when Mike Greenberg like tries to keep up with all these youngins, all these guys bringing the energy, and then Mike
all
Greenberg's
these youngins
with his little note cards. This guy's like a legend in the sports media game, and I'm making fun of him. That's so mean. And then, but like, anyway, the point being with Baker, you kind of always knew he had this in him, as far as like the toughness, the trash talk. But when you back it up with decent winning play, it's kind of a joy to watch. And then, you get beautiful moments like this.
Yes.
It's so random.
I mean, for me, I thought he was kind of a douche because the way he kind of was a little arrogant and cocky. But then again, you have to be when you're a quarterback. I do remember when his rookie year, Hugh Jackson got fired and he came back as Bengals assistant and he refused to shake his hand. I was like, dude, that's a dick move. Like he got fired. He had to take a job. What do you expect from him? Since then, Baker's matured and he's been a pretty good quarterback. So yeah, I like his style now. I do like Baker Mayfield.
He also looked like he was having when I went to Tahoe for the celebrity golf tournament, he looked like he was having just the best time. I forgot who he was paired up with, but I know one of them was Vince Carter, and Baker was trying to get him to chug a beer with him, and Vince is like, "Nah, man," and he's like cracking up the entire time. I got a video of it.
Nice.
Yeah, he was kind of the life of the party, but beyond the rest of the people that were there.
Exactly. And there you go. Those are our week 2 quick hits. Went through everything in the NFL. Okay, real quick before we get out of here, I always forget to do this. Let's pick the Thursday night game. And this week, it is going to be the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins in Buffalo, a tale of a team 2-0 and looking like their usual selves, and a team that's 0-2 and looking like they're in deep dog doo-doo. So the Buffalo Bills are 11.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 49.5. Steven,
lay the points and take the under. Bills win. If you win games, then you win games. If you got to win games in order to win games. You can't lose games and win.
Yeah,
I think the Dolphins are going to lose this game.
Yeah, that's pretty good analysis by Mike McDaniel there. With how bad the Dolphins are against the Buffalo Bills on a short week too, I think Mike McDaniel's beat the Buffalo Bills once.
Oof.
And they just kicked their ass. The Bills dominate the Dolphins. Yeah, I'm going to do the same as you, man. I'm going to take the Bills to win, lay the points, but definitely go under on that 49.5.
It's a big point margin right there.
And there you go, guys. That's going to be it for tonight. Are the Giants still tied up with the Diamondbacks right now in the 9th?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I think
should.
Yeah, from where things were on Saturday night when I was texting Steven, the Giants might do this with the Mets losing to the Rangers and the Giants scoring 4 runs the top of the first against the Dodgers, and then things changing after that. I think I don't know about playoffs, but anyway, to everybody in the chat tonight, to Rocka New Era, to Dom Peralta, thank you for stopping by, dude. To Lauren F, to who else is on here? To Mr. Mauser, what's going on, Ryan Mauser? To Pat H, to Ernie One, to Otis Bird is the word, to Skills, to Tacky for a little bit of time, Eat Feces as well, Tacky. And I believe that is it. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Saturday at 11 o'clock, the usual time. Steven, say what you always say, my friend.
And that is...
Yes.
Just our opinion, man.